Coming up on today's wrestling news, was a major hint dropped that Kazuchika Okada is WWE bound?
WWE's considering just about everything for WrestleMania.
This WWE superstar wants a TNA match following a Royal Rumble surprise.
And what is going on with Bron Breakker and his move to the main roster? I'm Adam Wilborn.
I'm Michael Hamflett.
And this is the news.
Yeah, we start with that man again, the Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada. We're giving you one headline, and then we're maybe giving you a different conclusion, but stick with us on this one.
Okay.
So last night, potentially, or this morning, depending on when you kind of catch up on this story, there was a potential huge hint dropped on Kazuchika Okada's future. Obviously, we've reported all the various stories about him being WWE one minute, AEW the next minute, all the preeminent journalists not really knowing the exact answer.
No, I don't.
The latest teasers were that it was looking like he was going to be part of a big 1-2 punch for AEW alongside Mercedes Moné, whose future, of course, is also up in the air. However, last night, Ryan Barkin, the main man behind Pro Wrestling Tees, gave me a tour of the factory once. Thanks very much.
Did he?
Posted on their VIP Facebook page that, quote, I was just told to remove all Okada merchandise from ProWrestlingTees.com/Okada. So if there's ever something you wanted, you have 12 hours. A 12-hour countdown to buy your Okada merch. There's a free plug for them. You want to get over there, you might want to do it quickly. Now, for those that don't know, just in case, this is the Pro Wrestling Tees are a Chicago-based company that were kind of like have been in lockstep with AEW from the very beginning. They exploded when the Elite and Bullet Club merchandise exploded. Colt Cabana was a pioneer of using them, and like they're just kind of embedded within the DNA of All Elite Wrestling. If you want an AEW Wrestlers t-shirt, you can go to Pro Wrestling Tees and pick one up. All that kind of stuff. And for them suddenly not to be stocking Okada's merchandise with a 12-hour notice is very WWE coded.
Yes.
Or is it because the other side of this story is, does Tony Khan know that that's such a WWE coded move and know how plugged in his audience is that they will then rush to think that and create like a First Dance style red herring surprise, that kind of we know Okada's coming in. Like wrestling does this. We had this just last week at Sports Illustrated, right?
Yes.
Like feeding out certain news to send people in one direction. So this is either extremely WWE and it's happening, or so WWE that it's in fact AEW. Figure it out, have some fun with it, but you get
I've
it.
said this before. You know when wrestlers like file trademarks, people go, well, that's a definite sign that they are changing character or they are going to this promotion or whatever.
Yeah.
I always think to throw people off the scent, they should just file fake trademarks, basically. So yeah, you're right. I assumed automatically when I read this story, cool, Okada's going to NXT, or work out how to wrestle, and then after a year, we'll go into the main roster.
Yeah, surely we all thought that, right?
But you're right. Oh, I don't know what to believe now.
Yeah, it's either a big scoop of an impending thing or a great red herring, and like fairly smart marketing from Ryan from Pro Wrestling Tees, who will surely have just sent a bunch of people rushing to get their Rainmaker shirts in time. So we will see.
I think it's the former. I think he's going to WWE because I think this is a very elaborate work. I mean, it's not as elaborate as certain ones that would require involvement of so many different people.
Yeah,
but it just feels. Yeah, I'm leaning more towards Okada going. Maybe it's because I'd like to see Okada in WWE. Nothing against AEW, and I know he's obviously done stuff in there already. I just want to see what Okada in WWE looks like.
Well, let us know which one you would prefer. And of course, with Revolution in March and WrestleMania in April, it feels like we're going to know about this decision sooner rather than later. And speaking of making decisions around WrestleMania time.
Oh yeah, we don't know where Okada's destined for, but we know where we are.
Yeah. And potentially Kazuchika Okada and CM Punk, they're both on the maybe list now. We can't say they're coming, but we can't say they're not. But are you?
Make sure you bring your money.
That's the big question. Are you?
Food and drink there, so
because
makes sense.
General sale tickets are still available to It's Always Sunny at What Culture live from Philadelphia. The meat in your WrestleMania sandwich, slap right bang between night 1 and night 2. We'll have the conversation on the former and the conversation on the latter still to come. All of us are going to be there, but more importantly, Simon Miller will be too. VIP tickets are sold out, and the show's going to start at 12 o'clock. General sale tickets are available, and don't worry, you will have plenty of time to get to WrestleMania because we are going to.
Yes.
Like, nobody wants to be stuck in traffic or stressed about that kind of thing. So yeah, it's a midday kickoff. Those tickets are still available. We'll try and obviously have a chance to have the crack with it, all that sort of stuff. This kind of bollocks on the stage, all sorts of nonsense, and a good time promised as a nice sort of bit of a accoutrement to all the pro wrestling going on in Philadelphia over the biggest wrestling weekend of the year.
It's payday at What Culture today, so I assume it's payday for many other people. So why not splash out? Why not treat yourself if you head into WrestleMania to It's Always Sunny at What Culture, whatculture.com/tickets. Speaking of WrestleMania, WWE are considering just about everything with regards to the show of shows. They always had certain plans kind of cemented in for WrestleMania XL, aka WrestleMania 40. But with the Punk stuff and the Rollins stuff and, well, the Brock Lesnar stuff as well, it's kind of thrown everything up in the air. WrestleVotes tweeted this overnight. Between the unfortunate injury to CM Punk, the questionable status of Seth Rollins, and the pulling of Brock Lesnar, the WrestleMania card has taken a sharp turn. Sources said there are a number of brand new card variations on the table, including some superstars who were not pegged towards the top just days ago. I'm being told they will take their time to figure things out and consider just about everything. Drew McIntyre and Gunther are names considered to fill the void in that Seth Rollins World Heavyweight Championship match, although Cody could still choose him. Don't, but he could. Brock, obviously with the sex trafficking lawsuit and him being implicated, let's say, in there, allegedly, his spot in the Rumble was taken by Bron Breakker, and that's sort of nixed plans for Brock versus Dominic Mysterio at Elimination Chamber. No word as to whether Bron's going to complete, everything that Brock was going to be doing, aka fighting Dominic Mysterio at Elimination Chamber and potentially facing Gunther at WrestleMania. Now, while certain changes are a bit up in the air, we are considering the fact that probably we're still going to get Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns for the Undisputed title, Bayley versus Io Sky, and Becky versus Rhea. Matches you would have probably guessed, prior to all the developments over the last few weeks. But, I mean, they are it's not like they're stuck for talent to fill the void. Yeah,
I've seen comparisons made to remember the injury bug before WrestleMania 32?
Yes.
And the kind of like what felt like a lot of panic button moves at the time. I get it, because obviously these are big names.
Please don't bring Shane back.
No, nobody wants that. These are big names in big spots. Yes. However, certainly looking up and down the roster, this feels very different this time around. There are a bunch of over characters that will be chomping at the bit to get an opportunity, not just to get on the card, but to move up it. It was noted that Samantha Irvin, in the announcement of the Women's Royal Rumble, said, and the winner will main event WrestleMania, which, lends... And obviously, at the time, they wouldn't have known about CM Punk's injury, for example, but it does indeed, as the days have passed, lend credence to the fact with, hang on, are they going to try and get Bayley and Io to that main event level? People would have assumed that maybe Becky and Rhea would have stepped in. We're not just talking about getting on the card, we're talking about how high up that card you can get as well. I think Grayson Waller was another one that tweeted something in relation to Elimination Chamber of, we're taking very much the approach of one man out, one man steps in, as relates to all the wrestlers that those poor Perth fans have lost in the in the reality of how this card is shaping up, and I guess that applies to Mania too. It's obviously maybe not what it first looked like, but I wouldn't necessarily look at the current options and think that it's going to be a bust. Rollins last night on Raw, Seth Rollins, on Monday, cut the promo of his life to sell you on the prospect of him versus Cody.
Who's going to be on SmackDown on Friday.
Well, indeed. Too many wrestlers that are too hot that want these spots, I think, for this card not to shake out well. But it's chessboard, isn't it? You've got to put those people in the right spots.
And Hamflet and I, mainly Hamflet, is working on a great list that's going to go up at whatculture.com and be available as a video. We'll probably put it out before SmackDown in case things just got completely changed regarding what every wrestler's going to be doing at WrestleMania. Yeah. I really like some of the picks and some left field choices from you that I really hope they go for. I hope they watch us and they go, good point.
Well, we've got a bit wacky, felt a bit opportunistic, didn't it? So we'll see what we can do with that one. Do you know who else is going to be a bit opportunistic?
Who's that?
A WWE superstar, bit of a favourite of yours, that wants a TNA match following a bit of a Royal Rumble surprise on Saturday. Natalya.
Yes.
Wants to get a TNA match with Jordan Grace following an interview that she conducted with Steve Ford.
Legend.
Of WrestlingNews.co.
Love that guy.
WrestlingNews.co. Not a great weekend for Dastiva.
Oh, yeah. But, that side.
But,
what do you want to be known for?
Well, indeed. And obviously Natalya wants Taylor Swift. But also, she wants Jordan Grace following Jordan Grace, naming the likes of Natalya, Bianca Belair, Ivy Nile as people she would love to have over in TNA. To return swap of her work in the Royal Rumble.
That's fair.
Now, obviously, wrestlers just say stuff and take this with, a pinch of rumour and a pinch of salt. However, look at kind of, as something we talked about the other day, WWE's odd Women's Royal Rumble law with TNA, and then Charlie Dempsey working for All Japan, Shinsuke Nakamura doing Keiji Muto's match last year. It's Still weird that it happens, but it's no longer, not without precedent, that wrestlers drop in, do something from WWE and then leave, and there's kind of no more to it, and businesses don't.
Papa H appears to be a lot more open to that sort of thing.
Yeah, businesses haven't yet quite crumbled in the wake of a working relationship with WWE. That may be to come, obviously, but yeah, so Natalya kind of shooting her shot, I guess, and Jordynne Grace is obviously keen to have that as well. There was loads of kind of like scintillating moments with Jordynne Grace. She was one of the standout performers. The Bianca Belair elimination, I would argue, is one of the, like when she did the KOD on the apron, one of the...
It's a way to get rid of her.
Indeed, one of, like, I would say, defining spots of that entire match. So yeah, Natalya after it, and I guess in terms of wrestlers that have put in the hard yards within WWE, there's probably not many more deserving to get an opportunity like this where it's fairly risk-free.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. Like, I've seen a lot of Natalya. That's the only reason. I'm not a hater of hers. It's just, she's kind of done everything she can do within WWE. So yeah, having her head over to a bit for TNA could be really intriguing, and I want to see more Jordynne Grace matches off the back of it. I think her appearance in the Rumble's done like 6 million views on social media. I did like the story that also came out, I believe, from the same Steve Ford interview, although it might have been the Sean Ross Sapp one, actually. I do apologise, Sean, if I've got that one wrong. That she kept it all a secret. She didn't even tell Naomi.
Yeah.
So she was texting her all week going, can't wait to see you in the Rumble, because obviously she knew about that. She was like, surprise.
Well, I mean, in the Rumble, I meant literally in the Rumble. Let's hug and punch.
That's awesome.
Yeah, nice that. Huge platform she's just erected for herself, and deservedly so. So yeah, this, again, as for right now, just something the wrestlers are trying to manifest, but not something totally out there in 2024.
Yeah, I'd like more of that sort of thing. WWE stars heading to TNA, and TNA stars potentially popping up on random WWE events.
On the spot,
give me Moose and Joe Hendry.
On the spot, TNA WWE dream match right now, I'd have to go with probably Kofi Kingston versus Nick Nemeth. Never seen it.
Right, Bron Breakker. I talked about him a little bit earlier on, and the presumption is, well, he's off to the main roster. He called it his home now, of course. But it's not quite that simple, because Booker of the Year unofficial Booker of the Year Shawn Michaels, fight me,
the chef,
has said, I'm not sure about that. Obviously, we saw on Raw, the SmackDown GM, I can't remember what his name is off the top of my head, he intimated, I'm going to sign Bron Breakker if you're signing Andrade, basically. But Shawn Michaels was speaking to Tim and Eli on... You've given me this story for that reason, haven't you?
Go on.
Battleground! Your ground! Battleground! But Tim and Eli! Shawn said, well, look.
I think I'm the cook of the year.
You know. NXT Preview and Review podcast. Shawn said, well, look, he may feel that that's his home, but we still have got work here in NXT to do, whether he likes it or not. Strange enough, that's our job. Our job is to lose talent in NXT, of course. But he's the one I'm going to have trouble letting him go. I can assure you there is more left for Bron Breakker here in NXT, one way or another. He's an incredibly talented, very gifted young man. As far as I'm concerned, he's young and, as we say, full of piss and vinegar. If he wants to double time it, he can certainly do it, but I'm not letting him go that easy. Of course, Bron, one half of the Wolf Dogs, who are fighting for the Dusty Cup on Sunday at NXT Vengeance Day. I just love him, and I'm so happy that he got that exposure for the main roster at the Rumble.
I love, potentially, that he said home just to shoot a shot, to just see, if I say this, will it just become true? Well, they just have no choice but to call me up. I kind of admire that. Shawn Michaels giving it the so publicly is interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and read between some storylines here. Does this mean the Wolf Dogs lose at Vengeance Day and we have the Wolf Dogs explode over, what's the WrestleMania weekend NXT?
I believe it's called Stand and Deliver,
and he is adamant about that. Does Baron Corbin and Bron Breakker, because it does feel like...
not yet. I love them.
They are great.
The assholes.
This has inadvertently resulted in kind of a Bron Breakker babyface turn, hasn't it? Because they're basically having a contest of who's a bigger asshole, and it's Baron Corbin. So and he's got that spear.
Corbin's warm to Wolf Dogs.
Yeah, it's a great relationship if you're not watching on NXT.
Why aren't you watching NXT? What are you doing?
Well, indeed. If they were to explode over Stand and Deliver weekend, that would basically allow for Bron to get the call up as early as Monday's Raw, right? So it could be a WrestleMania weekend thing. Maybe Shawn is saying that. I need him.
Big title match with the family.
Yeah, exactly. Like, go out looking at the lights for Tony D and Stacks. Like the way they used to in the territories, right? Yeah. Like the old-fashioned way. It's happening. Bron feels like a dead cert for the main roster in 2024. So Shawn Michaels, yet again with some of his biggest stars, is swimming against the tide in NXT.
Yeah.
But, interesting. Interesting that they went public with it.
With the reshuffle as well, they might decide we need someone to beat Gunther.
Yeah.
So we need to free Gunther up for world title stuff. And the last person with a singles pinfall victory over Gunther is...
Bron Breakker.
Bron Breakker.
Maybe there'll just be a bit of a intra-DX gamesmanship here, like when I think it was Indy Hartwell, where Shawn, you saw it on a TV draft and he was like, oh, well, F me, I guess then. Maybe like Triple H has read that and thought, oh, we'll see how they draft on Raw, Bron Breakker graphic.
Could have red and blue gear until he's officially picked by... You'd love that, wouldn't you?
Tick, tick, tick.
Right, let's move over to your Twitter questions. At What Culture WWE and X, of course, if you want to get in touch with us. First question sort of leads off our second story today. It comes from Cindy Lights, who says, I hope for once the best wrestling journalist in the game reads my tweet. I got you covered, don't worry. Fantasy booking Seth at Mania. Gunther goes after Seth to get a title shot. Then Priest does a Seth and cashes in at Mania so Gunther can get revenge and win at Bash in Berlin.
Don't hate that, you know.
Yeah. Still IC champion for you if he's doing this? Or?
Yeah, like if Gunther and Seth is happening, and obviously we've talked about multiple WrestleMania cards, title for title's the way to go. Seth Rollins put forth an impassioned defence of that World Heavyweight title that for the longest time felt like a toy belt.
Yes.
But if Gunther's Intercontinental title reign is going to mean anything, he's got to buy that as being on the same level as the world title. I'm all for it. The kind of match that basically made me a fan forever was a title for title Hogan Warrior match, so I've got no problem with this. And the Damian Priest cash-in as a triple threat, I think comes up a lot because of Seth holding the title.
Yeah.
People see the connection and see Seth getting screwed for the sake. And Damian Priest's storyline at the moment is looking kind of a bit dumb because the world champion is there basically telling you every week he's got a bad knee and he's doing nothing about it. So him saving it for WrestleMania kind of vindicates the waiting game on it. So I don't hate that.
Yeah, I'd be intrigued to see that. I think people would be less annoyed than if he'd cashed in, for example, in a Seth Punk match, because I know it's a lot easier to see Seth Gunther running it back way further down the line. I'd have Gunther work both nights. I think no one would think, oh God, he's going to be weakened. It's Gunther. Yeah. He's not weakened. He's a monster. So if he fought on night one and then fought for a title on night two as well, or vice versa, he could do the World Heavyweight Championship night one, which he loses but doesn't really lose because of cash-in.
Chad Gable night two.
Not Chad Gable, please. But I like that. Good suggestion. I think they just they've got this basically. Right? Who should Seth face at WrestleMania? Senor Benja, thank you for your question. He says, Buenos dias. Punk is injured, okay, but the ratings are king, and WWE surely paid a hefty contract. Could they make him still appear on TV and be a cult stable and be a mouthpiece of other wrestlers to heating up his inevitable match against Cody when he's recovered?
I'll tell you why I don't hate that. Because CM Punk once said, and he was 100% right about this, he's the best in that ring.
Yes.
On that microphone. Wait there. Hell, I'm even the best on commentary. Get him out there. Like, we've had all these commentary changes lately. Have it not every week, but have him every now and then just remind you that he's still around. Like, this is not one of them sort of things where he needs to be kept as this total mystery figure that is just recovering from his injury and we don't know when he's going to be back. Have him once every 2 or 3 weeks. Just be like, I just thought I'd put the old sports coat on.
At least you know the people are on Pat McAfee.
Well, this is it. I'll sit at the commentary desk with you, Michael Cole, who I've come to begrudgingly respect. I'll sit with you, Pat McAfee, who I clearly despise, and I'm going to make no secret of that, and let's get tense about it. And have him call the action. He's a fascinating figure as a commentator. Like, he's really insightful, he's really funny, and it's because it's Punk, it's impossible not to read into every second sentence. He's a captivating figure, and I think he would actively elevate everybody he's calling the matches for.
I completely agree. I think he'd be great on commentary. Commentating at WrestleMania.
Oh my God! To give him the big entrance and the big, to just sort of stand.
Then I could say at least I've seen it.
To stand on the stage for the second and be like, I still really need this. I'll see you at WrestleMania 40. And of course, any wrestler there could knock over my diet soda and set up a storyline off the back of it.
Yes, he could come out and set his name on fire as well.
I would love that. I would love that. And then have his Chicago firefighter mate come out and put it out.
Yeah. I like the idea as well of him having to commentate on Seth's world title match.
Oh my God.
Watching a cash-in because he's got a lot of history with cash-ins.
Bitterness.
What was it when Miz cashed in?
He was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was in the
This is
building.
looking real familiar or something.
I was in the building. His rage building up like one of them Blue Peter charity meetings, just getting redder and redder and redder and redder.
I'd have beaten him by now. So. Final question today comes from Brian George. Morning, guys. Morning, Brian. What would you say is a bad habit that the old WWE regime did that the new regime still does? For me, it's stories that go nowhere, like B-Fab teasing joining Lashley or the constant stop-start with Nikki Cross. I will say, I don't think they've forgotten that B-Fab thing. Need someone to take out Scarlett from Final Testament.
Stay tuned for our What's Everybody Doing at WrestleMania video for a little bit on B-Fab. Well, Brian, I don't know if you listen to our podcast, and if you don't, you should, available wherever you get your podcast, but we went quite deep on a segment on just yesterday's Monday Night Raw that is a WWE production choice that just I find absolutely insufferable. It's a two-parter, actually. Number one, the camera being left on anybody backstage for, it's absolutely no more than 3 seconds.
Yeah.
But in television terms, it feels like a lifetime. Where they say, I'm finishing the sentence to you now, Brian. Felt really awkward and long, that, didn't it? Felt really awkward and long. It was about a second in real time. They do that all the time, and it's excruciating because the characters are forced to stay on their marks and stand there. Number two, of a part two, is the characters that are in the shot at the same time, and the universe that we have to believe is apparently so small that if I am this far away from you, I'm now completely silent.
Yes, so for example, on Raw, Jackie Redmond was like, well, we got the scoop here from Hamflet. He said he's going to fight Gunther at WrestleMania. And they were doing that. They were mouthing, having a conversation, despite the fact they were next to a microphone and you would have been able to hear them.
They look stupid. Characters that just walk off like a second. No, come back! All right, I'm here.
Still in the room.
Looks really stupid. Fix it.
I'm going to go for a thing that everyone's been talking about recently, especially with that footage of Seth Rollins at the Rumble going, huh?
Oh boy.
Getting more memorable themes. You've got $5 billion coming from Netflix. Splash out on some music that people would recognise. Not saying necessarily everyone has to have it, because maybe that's a little bit of overkill, or even that you have to even buy music for people. Just make music that people go, like CFO $, or however you pronounce their name, Jim Johnson, those days they were making themes you were like, I know exactly who that is immediately. The first bar hits and I go, right. A lot of the people in that Rumble, despite the fact we do this sort of job, I was like, they better show the name on the screen in a second or I'm not going to have a bloody clue who this is.
And, like, I love some of the CFO's themes and the Jim Johnson ones and even some of the Jimmy Hart ones. One thing all of those had in common, like, a lot of them were just poaching or pilfering mainstream songs and tweaking them just a little bit. So there was already something familiar in the back of your mind that then became associated with the rest of them.
I was convinced Rage Against the Machine did D-Generation's X's theme when I was like, that's cool.
That's a rage. Well, and Steve Austin's, right? With Balls on Parade. One that we've been enjoying lately, like Bailey's old theme. We celebrate on the floor.
Where's she gone?
That's that...
oh, bollocks. The bear's gone missing.
That's that... what's that song by the Owl City lads? And Carly Rae Jepsen.
Oh, yeah, go. For some reason I went, you would not believe your eyes. Ken really, that's not going to be a wrestling thing.
Is that NXT Firefly? That's
I've not heard that in years. That's going to be suck, man.
Anyway, those guys, you can watch those YouTube videos. There's a bunch of rip-offs, and nobody cares. Nobody judges.
Exactly.
If DDP coming out to definitely, like, smells like teenage spirit. Like, they're fine, man. They're fine. Rip some stuff off. Def Rebel, I think the guys are at the moment.
Yes.
They're getting pelters for this. Just nick some stuff and change a chord.
Yeah, exactly. Just turn it up and change it a live, tiny bit, and then
you can have. Look, I'll sing it for you now. We're like, oh, it's Adam Wilborn. It's yours for free.
Well, let us know your thoughts on everything in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe, and while you're at it, check out this video. Bye.